Community Beacon, Fridays at 6:30 EST, with your hosts Michaeldseville and Joel Simmons. A channel whose focus is liberty. A place where the lessons discussed and taught will create openings to a more open and freer mindset. A mindset where you may reach the height of your potential and excel. Here are your hosts, Mike and Joel.
Absolutely. The vision is there. Great evening, everyone. It's Friday. It's earlier than 6:30, but we're here.
That's all right.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting it in. I'm Michaeldseville, your co-host, Community Beacon. Of course, got the co-host with the most on the other side of the camera with me, or the screen, my brother from another mother, the one, the only, Mr. Joel Simmons from the Tenacity Foundation. What's going on, brother?
Oh man, coming from the most of the most co-host, Michaeldseville, the real estate giant who keeps it real. We love it. I'm doing well, brother. Doing well. Good to see you. I'm excited about this conversation today. You know, we're going to dive into a little bit about faith and knowing and belief, and I'm excited about this. So let's get it rolling. Let's get it rocking.
Let me hold the horses real quick. Let me remind people real quick to like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification button, depending on what platform you are actually viewing this on. Of course, on Mondays, What It Takes, every Monday, still dropping that. On Wednesdays, we got It Starts With Who, brother?
Starts with me, y'all. Please showing up. It is beautiful. And then on Friday, we're here together for the Community Beacon.
Yeah, proud to do it. I'm always excited to see the brother on the other side of the screen. And I'm also excited when you all engage with us. And this will be an interesting conversation.
But hold on, brother. We got one more. Gotta give a shout out to Beethoven.
Shout out to Beethoven and the male perspective. Blame it on my mind and not my heart. Shouts out to Beethoven, the male perspective. Awesome show. I'm excited about a lot of the shows that I'm a part of because it's the knowledge that we're giving. You know what I mean? And help. Hopefully if someone gets one testimony out of this stuff for the knowledge that we're given, it's awesome. But I know I can testify in regards to how much it's helped me to develop myself as a person, as a man in the community, from one show to the other, being able to hear about these different sides and widen our scope. Like when you widen your scope, if you have a lens and you just you only can see through this narrow scope. When you get to widen your scope, the world starts to open up for you. So once the world starts to open up, you start to see a lot of opportunities. You start to see other people's points of view. The quality I'm working on this week is empathy. So you can't imagine how much this helps in regards to empathy, to be around a lot of these brothers who have these perspectives that I respect. And I respect them first, and then they have these different perspectives that add on to what it is that I'm thinking about, so I can continue to develop myself as a man here. How about you, brother? Or what's there?
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. Like the conversation for men is, I had this what does it take to be a man? And I'm gonna tell you something. Always developing. A man is always developing to be a man or to be a better man, and there's a beautiful saying with the Freemasons where they talk about making good men better. And a man should always be reaching to his highest level of self because it's necessary. I like to think this is my philosophy that, while we are created in the image of God, God is a being, and so man should always being. He should always be being.
Right.
And what I mean by that is like God is a creator. He's omnipotent, omnipresent. So we should always be looking to stretch ourselves to be present in our families' lives and to be available and to be loving, as well as many other contributions. Brother, take it from here real quick.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So before the brother was we were on the show, we were talking about the difference between and I words mean a lot, and you kind of have to develop your own understanding of the words. And that's fine. Specifically when you come into contact with someone else, like at least be prepared to let a person know how you see certain words. So what we were speaking about before, as the brother got on, because he's had some interesting news this week, and it kind of related to some of the things that I've been thinking about, and what I was thinking about this week was the difference between belief, faith, and knowing. The difference between belief, faith, and knowing. And I know it can seem pretty what's the word you would use? I don't want to call it tedious, but it could see it's like semantics or something. But I think when you get to the core of it, like it makes sense. And so I think that we spend a lot of time in the belief of things. Like, I believe this to be true. I believe, this is going to happen. I believe this about myself. And when you think about it, the belief is not as strong as the knowing. And what I found in my experience with the belief is that I'm attached to the how I'm going to get somewhere. It has to fit my certain frame. I spoke about the scope. It has to fit my scope. Like, I need to go down this way, and I need to make this right. Then I need to make this left, and then I need to make this right. Whatever it is in regards to direction, in order for me to get to this spot. Well, as I started to find out, was that since I'm more vested in the way of how, the how to get there, as opposed to the getting there, because ultimately, and it was like a lot of self-righteousness on my part and a lot of controlling on my part, because I would come up against an obstacle. Let's say the road is closed, it's a detour. So if I'm vested in the way of how I'm getting there, then I'm just going to stop. And now I have to wait for this detour to happen because I'm so vested in how I'm going to get there. There's a lot of rigidity in that. And so working on saying, okay, well, Mike, you want to get to this spot. And once you widen the scope, I can start to be a little bit more flexible on how I'm going to get there. And ultimately, sometimes it's about, and we spoke about this before, brother, is the becoming in getting to the place that you want to get to. Because those obstacles are meant to be, you can go around it, you can go through it, but it's something, it's an obstacle for you to figure out, and that helps in your becoming. So I say, you know what? Here's what I know. I know that as a part of my self-concept, I'm persistent and I'm consistent. Like that, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm going to get up and I'm going to perform. But I'm not, and I know, so knowing that consistency is the strategy, I know I'm going to get to where I need to get to. I'm not as much vested in how I get there, or as long as I do it with integrity, but as how I get there and the timing of it. Because we often get, and so that's another part of the believing. Like the believing, I go back to the belief part, which I'm straying away from, and getting to the knowing part. The belief comes with like a time. Like we start to put time frames on it. Oh, it has to happen within 6 months. Well, maybe it doesn't happen in 6 months. My thing is, I need to plant that seed. I need to understand the clarity of the vision of where I'm going, and I know I'm going to get there as long as I'm performing these duties, and at the same time be flexible enough for when an opportunity presents itself to be able to say, okay, well, I didn't expect this to happen. And as an entrepreneur, this happens all the time. I didn't expect this windfall. I didn't expect to meet this client in this way or this way, but because I'm readying myself for this journey, I'm readying myself as I'm on the journey. And if I continue to be self flexible to it, then I'm at least open to it. But if we stay in this rigid belief of what we believe is going to happen, like we don't know the ways it is. And I know I'm kind of just, and I'm working through this thought process, brother. But what do you say? What's your thought process?
Listen, man, I think you're on to something, and I know that we've talked about trusting the process so many different times, right? And so, like this belief, faith, knowing, this belief, I think that all of them just kind of they work together, right? They work together. Biblically, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. That's what the biblical verse of it is. But belief is something that must be obtained, because biblically it says that he that cometh unto God must first believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. So you have like this belief has to be established at some point in time, basing it off of that concept, right? That you have to have this belief. And the part that I really took note of that you were talking about was the windfall. The windfall, something that maybe some people may even call luck, right? It's like luck. And Brian Tracy is, he's a big guy and talking about quote unquote luck. And he would say something like, there really isn't any luck, because you'll find that the people that quote unquote get lucky are the people that are always in preparation for what they're looking for, and always in environments that this can be produced. So, I mean, it's like, if you gamble, and you go and you hang around gamblers like poker, and you become very good at poker, then at some point in time, you're not going to get lucky. You're going to win. That's just the way it is. You're going to eventually win, just like you will lose. Whether the win is greater than the loss, I don't know. But if you hang around people that are architects, and you take the time to draw things and to learn these things and to take it on, and you have this great belief that you're going to be the greatest architect ever there was, and then you apply faith in that, and faith is the complete trust or confidence in someone or something, including yourself. You have this faith that you're actually going to be that individual. Then when someone knocks on your door or gives you the phone call and says, hey, Mr. Seville, I know you've never done this work before, but I talked to so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so, and they showed me some of the drawings you have. We want to give you an opportunity to take on this multi-million-dollar project, and that is luck in so many people's eyesight. But what they don't understand is that along the pathway of all you put in the work. And so Daddy Bailey, my mentor, my spiritual father, I'll never forget these words he said, and you probably can go back and look on some of our tapings and hear that I've quoted this before. But that's because it left an impression on my heart. And there's many of us that were standing there before him, and he was talking to all of us, and he said, you knew the time was coming. Why didn't you prepare? And so it's like, this is knowing. Right? This is knowing.
Knew it was coming.
You knew the time was coming. The Bible says, go to the ant, thou sluggard, and consider her ways. And the thing about it is, like, the ant doesn't stop working because it's raining. It doesn't stop working because it's snowing. It doesn't stop working because there's too much sun. It's always working, because at some point in time, there will not be any food, and they got to feed the family. They got to feed the queen. There's a purpose, and it's driven into the ants' being. And there we go, back to the word being. It's driven into them, and it has to be taken care of, because if it isn't, then when the time comes to feed the queen or to hatch new baby ants or whatever, or when the time comes to fight off an enemy, or when the time comes that the rains descend and the floods come upon that anthole, they will not be prepared to protect their colony. They won't be prepared to feed their colony. They won't be prepared to reproduce for their colony. They won't be prepared to fight off an enemy for their colony. Therefore, bad luck strikes them, but it's really not bad luck at all. It's
What's
lack
coming?
of preparation.
You knew this time was coming.
Yeah.
You knew it was coming. So why weren't you prepared? Why weren't you refining your skills? And so when we speak of, when we go back to the belief and the faith and the knowing, there to me there, you know, I get analytical with it. So it's like there's some kind of equation to it. But if not an equation, it's almost like there's a step, there's a step to the ladder. I believe this time is coming. Okay, great. Start preparing because you're starting with that belief. Okay, I have faith that this time is coming. Well, keep preparing. You're in that state of being. Listen, I know this time is coming. So I'm so throughout this time, because I think that all states of the being, as you mentioned, brother, it's like this being. So I'm being in this state of preparedness. I'm refining my skills. I'm working through these different skills in order to get there. And then once again, when you're in this state of knowing, you don't know where it's coming from. The knock on the door, the call up to the office, the turn on the TV and whoa, I never thought of it this way. That's the widening of the scope part. But if you know that this is happening, then everything becomes an opportunity. And when you're treating everything like an opportunity, because this is one thing that I know. There's no lack of opportunity. We're in America. I'm seeing people get rich by selling air. I see someone, they got air for sale. These guys I think they made like $100,000 selling air. It's water for sale. Remember when we went to the water hose to get water? They got water for sale. 50 Cent said I took quarter water. In his rhyme, I took quarter water and sold it for $3, and Coca-Cola came and bought it for billions, right? So we if you have a knowing that this is going to happen, and you keep your belief and this faith within that it's going to happen, then it's going to happen. But you have to be open to it, and that's what I feel like. That's what the knowing does. The knowing opens us up to it. And it makes you a better person at the same time.
I agree, and it sharpens us. And so, like that's the thing there, Mike. That's the big thing, you know. Another one of my favorite scriptures. I actually think we still have it in here, but this is it: a wise man will hear and increase learning, and a man of understanding will attain unto wise counsel. And it's like, how do we get this knowledge? I was breaking this down inside of our Bible study Wednesday night. Mike, you got to come out to it. We're having a good time. I was breaking this thing down and we were talking about I said, well, what do you want to talk about tonight? Someone said the Bible. I said, okay, we'll talk about the Bible. And so we went through these different scriptures like Deuteronomy chapter 6, and, and we went to 2 Timothy 3 and 14, 15, 16. And we went to Proverbs, this proverb right here, 1:5 and Proverbs 3:5. And then also Psalms 1. 1:1. And the bottom line is what we say in Ecclesiastes chapter 12. And so the bottom line is that it's our job. It's our job to learn. When you come to Jesus, there's a scripture where it talks about this, and Jesus is like, come unto me, all ye that are burdened and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And then he says to learn of me. Take my yoke upon thee and learn of me. And boom, there it is. It should hit you it should hit you like a ton of bricks, knock you off your seat. Because if you're ever going to be able to get close to Jesus, you got to take the time to take my yoke means to subject yourself to my ways, my will. And then 2, learn of me means to learn who I am, what I am about, and why I move the way I move. So if there's anything at all that you believe in, That's how you can transmute this. If there's anything at all that you believe in, if you believe that you can be an architect, that you can be an artist, if you believe that you can be, whatever it is, a singer, if you believe that you can be a football player, if you believe that you can be an instructor, a teacher, if you believe that you can be a firefighter or a real estate agent or an insurance broker, whatever it is that you believe in, you have to then take the yoke of that responsibility on yourself. And then you have to learn whatever that is, whether it's a trade or whether it's a degree type of system. You have to learn it. And see, that's how you establish your belief. You say, well, one, I believe, we'll go back to the definitions. I believe, which is I accept the statement that this thing exists and that maybe it's for me. I believe that. And then my faith next, I'm going to trust in this. I'm going to develop myself in this. I may not be good today. I may not be good tomorrow or even next year, but I'm going to do like what Mike said earlier. I'm going to be persistent. I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to show up and I'm going to show out every single day. Even if I'm the worst at it, I'm going to be the worst guy that there ever was. I'm going to have the best attitude, the best spirit, because I believe, and my belief has grown so much that I actually got faith that I'm going to be the greatest. Even if I'm not, I believe that. And my faith then becomes, I know I'm the greatest. And now we can shout out like Muhammad Ali, I am the greatest, right? And now we're here saying, I am the greatest. And nobody sees us. Nobody sees it. Just like many of y'all don't even see what we're doing here. And we're shouting out, we are the greatest. We're shouting it out right here. Community Beacon is the greatest. And many of y'all don't even see it. And that's okay. It's okay. Because then here comes the day of reckoning. Here comes the day of reckoning. And someone knocks on the door, someone makes a phone call, someone bumps into you, someone accidentally pulls up, in this case, your YouTube, somebody does something, somebody shares one comment, they do one thing, and then boom, that's what they call viral in the sense of YouTube series, but it could be in anything at all. And all of a sudden, there is an opportunity. And it's not that was luck. It's not luck. You were destined to meet that opportunity. You just had to be persistent beyond your failures. You had to go beyond the failures, beyond the least resistance. You had to go to the place nobody else would go to, because in that place, there's nobody else there. And so you are the greatest because there's nobody else. You beat all the competition. Nobody else would persist that long. Nobody else would stay that consistent. Nobody else will work that hard. Like Paul said, he said, I work harder than they all. My boy Beethoven, yeah.
You got so passionate, brother. See, when you get into the knowing of it, you become powerful at that point. It's not this one-hit wonder or, oh, how did I get here? I know that I'm here. So the power that comes from it exudes. So when you have this opportunity, you're not going to allow this opportunity to get past you. Listen, well said. I know we got to get up out of here. We've definitely exhausted our time. Brother, any last words? And then I want to head out with the story.
I just want to tell you this. I was thinking about Beethoven. I just put it out there in the social media world. I was thinking about Beethoven literally since before we started this show.
Come on.
There was a burning desire to talk to that man. And that right there, and that is exactly how what we are talking about works. There was a connection that him and I, that we, all three of us, just made right here live that had nothing to do with making a phone call or calling anybody or doing anything at all. It was simply, we put it in the atmosphere, and it was so true that even the brother started it. He was feeling it too. And then he showed up just like that. Nobody else showed up. We got other brothers and friends that we both have together. Nobody else showed up and commented. But the one man, I'm telling you, Mike, I'm telling you, I was thinking about him, man. It's just Beethoven. Only him. God Almighty, that's how this thing works.
Like, guys, like, we appreciate you. I'm in this story. I was listening to a rabbi, and he told a story, and I thought it was one of the most interesting things. He said that there was a man he went hiking, and he ended up falling off of a cliff, or falling over a cliff, and he was holding on. He was holding on for dear life, and he started praying to God. He said, "God, if you save me, I'll dedicate my life to you. I'll dedicate my life to you." And God spoke to him and said, "Okay, son, I'm going to save you. Don't worry about it." So he was hanging on, and he's waiting on God to save him. He's waiting on God to save him, and a hiker comes by and says, "Hey, I'm gonna throw you a rope." And he says, he says, "Nah, don't throw me that rope. God's coming to save me." He said, "You sure, man? Because this rope can reach. I'm going to throw you this rope, and we'll just pull you out of it." He said, No, because I spoke with God. God said he's going to save me." And the hiker said, "All right, well, I'm going to be on my way." He said, then another person came by, and they saw him over. A person in the truck drove by and said, "Listen, I got this truck with me. I'm going to put this thing, I'm going to lower some rope, and I'm going to say," he said, "No, Lord." He said, "God is going to save me." The guy said, "Okay, well." He was adamant about it. "You just go on about your way. God is saving me." This entire time, he's losing his grip. They said a helicopter passed by and said, "Hey, we're going to come down, and we're going to load you up into the helicopter and get you to safety." He said, "No." He said, "You know what?" He said, "God is going to save me." And the helicopter said, "Okay, well, you got it." And a few moments later, he finally lost all grip in his hands, and he fell down to his death. And then he said he met God at the pearly gates. He died, and he went up to heaven. He said, "God," he said, "man," he said, "you said you were going to save me." He said, "I said, I met you 3 people. I sent you a hiker, I sent you in the truck, I sent you the helicopter." He said, "They were all meant there to save you." So what was the moral of the story? The moral of the story is, if you get to know him and you get to know his ways, and you get to the knowing of the being, and not so vested in how it's going to happen, you just prepare yourself for it to happen, then you can take the opportunities. Man, I thought about that story, and I thought about this story, and I said, you know what? Sometimes we're just so vested in how we think it should go down, and that's not necessarily the case. So other than that, guys, this was I hope you all took something from this story. The brother dropped some gems in it. Man, for me to think and for me to get stronger in what it is that I have to do and preparing myself for whatever opportunity. Other than that, guys, man, we definitely do appreciate you. Thanks for checking in. Like, subscribe, share. The brothers out, and we will see you next week.